Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video with the disappointing Goku Day reveal. I mean, there could be some more content, but highly unlikely. But with that, not a whole lot going on. So we have a 200% lead, level 10 links, recently rainbowed Teq transforming Janemba video for you today. Did rainbow him out from my Golden Week summons, so at least we got some content coming from the fact I didn't actually pull the 2 new units. As you can see there, those are his links, even when he's transformed into Super Janemba, level 10 links. A unit that is very hot and cold with me. I have a lot, I mean a lot of PTSD from this unit, mainly because of one of the Goku or Vegeta event missions, which was the Corroded Body and Mind mission. Let me know in the comments if you remember that struggle. It was hell. Even if you had this guy, which you needed him for the lead, and you had the right units to do it, it just took the absolute world to actually get the run you needed to beat the mission. But we do have Transforming Cooler on rotation this turn, so we are getting the support from Transformation Boost, of course one of the strongest supports in the game, and a huge benefit with Janemba going on LR Final Form Cooler's 200% lead. So we are starting with 360k attack stat, 210k defense, and considering he does have guaranteed guard, a 30% defense raise on super, and of course gets the 30% damage reduction with 2 or more rainbow key spheres obtained, that's actually pretty good. But of course that is with the big support from him. Now in terms of a setup right now, this is as good as it's going to get. Metamorphosis, big bad bosses, and fierce battle. So, you know, we're just going to get our key spheres. We are going to indeed get 2 key spheres, which means he is going to get the damage reduction. Not that it really matters here, because we're not really going to be taking that much damage, especially with the guard we already do have. And then not only that as well, because we did get, what is it? How many key spheres do you need to get? 4 or more type key spheres obtained. Because we did get 6 in total and a bunch of Teq key spheres, we did of course get that extreme class allies support. 3.48, pretty decent, but that is with support. But viable support, so I'm not mad at it. But we did get the support for extreme class allies, which is key +2 and attack and defense +30%. Now, I'm going to keep the trend going with units that I do 200% lead videos on, you know, regardless if they're rainbowed and things like that, and at level 10 links, and kind of just touch upon EZA, especially if they're kind of within the realms of being able to receive one. You know, we've done it with transforming Bardock, who really needed some help and still does, and also Gobros, who actually, funny enough, could have got an EZA during the Goku Day celebration, but for some reason they decided they weren't gonna do that, which is actually just kind of a massive shame. Like, a massive shame. Like, I really thought them two, especially because they did come out around about this time, you know, what, like 4 years ago, they could have got an EZA, but instead, they kind of gave us nothing. So here we are. But we're going to keep that trend going. And, you know, in terms of an EZA, do you know what? As I said, this unit was very hot and cold with me. Looking back, I thought maybe I was a little bit too harsh. Janemba did get a massive, massive revitalization under the LR Final Form Cooler 200% lead, just because when it came to hard and difficult content, mainly being Red Zone at the time, and kind of still is, you know, he was incredibly useful because one of his major issues is his 1 key links. Like, he just doesn't get enough key to consistently super attack. However, the reason why you were bringing him wasn't for that. You're literally bringing him for the guaranteed guard. The support is nice, but you know, consistently sometimes you might not be able to get it off just because you might prioritize other units getting the key they need, or they may need it more, or you know, they may need to build up their passive from supering, all those type of things. So that's nice to have, but if you can get it. But mainly for his guard and the 30% damage reduction with 2 or more rainbow key spheres, which, you know, right now it's kind of fine because we are getting, I think, like key +2 from this cooler, isn't it? Yeah, we're getting key +2. So if we weren't getting the key +2, we would need some serious key. Like, this Janemba has serious key issues, right? So even getting 2 or more rainbow key spheres, why he may not have super attacked in that turn, not an issue, because we've got the guard, we've got the 30% damage reduction, that's all that matters, and Janemba would be here in slot 3 floated. Just because you know, you're not consistently supering, the damage output isn't there, doesn't link well with other units aside from like big bad bosses and fierce battle, and occasionally Metamorphosis and Nightmare here and there, but just mainly big bad bosses and fierce battle. You just want him to tank, and that's kind of all he's good for, and still is currently. Right now, we do have him linked up with not only the cooler support, but the strength Janemba, so we are triggering Metamorphosis and Nightmare. and with the support, we're just under 400k. We still have 210k defense. We can't get him 2 rainbow key spheres, but that doesn't really matter. Again, we don't really need the damage reduction here. We can't get enough for the support either, because we're going to get him to super attack. This video is kind of about him. We do actually want him to consistently super attack here to see what damage he's doing, what numbers he's putting out. So in terms of that, 3.4, 3.44. It's not bad, pretty solid. Considering, you know, before he transformed into Super Janemba, he's more of a defensive focus unit once he transforms, which you don't really transform him ever, because you lose out on so many good defensive capabilities. And then once he transforms, you know, he does become a bit more attacking focus, and then does have the dodge. But as I said, in the last few years of using him, or probably since he's actually been released, you don't really have much reason to transform him, especially in difficult content, because you want to keep the guard, you want to keep the damage reduction, and also potentially the support you can get from him as well. But in terms of what Janemba needs, now pre-transformation, Janemba needs ki. He just needs flat ki at the start of turn. He really does. Or whether you give him flat ki and then ki he can gain from picking up key spheres maybe, because he kind of has that kind of, you know, gimmick around his kit. I don't really mind as long as he gets ki. Whether that's ki +2, ki +3 at the start of turn. He does get attack and defense +120. If he was the EZA, of course, those numbers would update. But as long as he gets ki at the start of turn, or ki at the start of turn and maybe some extra ki, as I said, by picking up key spheres, I don't really mind. But because of his inconsistent and wonky link set, not only does it affect him and how consistent he can super attack, but it can affect other units here and there. Well, it did more so when he released, not so much now, just because we don't really have that issue. A lot of units, if they have a wonky link set or need ki, Dokkan are pretty good at putting that ki in their passive, whether that's at the start of turn, maybe some extra through building up their passive, key spheres, things like that. Great support units that actually are viable in difficult content. So as I said, it's not really that much of an issue anymore, or not as much. But I still think Janemba needs it, just because while everyone else might not be affected with his key issues, you know, he still needs to be getting the key so you can consistently super attack. Like if he was to get an EZA, he can't be having key issues in 2023 or whenever he gets an EZA, especially later on. Definitely cannot be happening. While we do have Metamorphosis and Nightmare active, we no longer have the cooler support, so we're still putting out 322k attack stat pre-super, which is actually pretty good, but only 171k defense. But considering again, he does get the 30% defense raise on super, 30% damage reduction with Toolmare and Rainbow Key Spheres, and of course the guaranteed guard. That's actually not that bad once he's super attacked and you have all of that kind of stacked on top of each other. So 3.18. Again, considering this is more like the more defensive focus form, that's actually pretty good. And 2.3 mil crit and an additional, so you know, if we were in a harder content right now, the double defensive raise would have been pretty nice. But you know, as I said, not really too much of an issue in terms of, you know, damage being taken right now, just because we do have all of that, you know, kind of stacked on top of each other. But yeah, that is one of the major things this part of his kit needs. Pre-transformation, he needs ki, because key issues just cannot be a thing with units, especially when he may receive an EZA. Not even just 2023, he might receive one in 2024, 2025, who knows. The only unit that has that, funny enough, is LR Ultimate Gohan, or Beastless Gohan, and we all know how that went. So as I said, that is one thing that does need to be addressed, and he does need. Again, whether that's starter turn key or key he gets from picking up key spheres, because he kind of has that gimmick, or both, don't really mind as long as he has it. As I said, naturally that 120% attack and defense will go up. The guard, of course, is fine. The damage reduction is fine. I mean, if they want to give him more, then sure. I do think this Janemba unit is one of those where you don't have to rush to transform him, or well, in his case, you don't transform him at all, but it's one of those where, depending on the situation, you can keep Janemba untransformed for a bit more defense. Kind of like Strength Cooler. You know, he keeps stacking, you keep the support, or mainly if you're facing like a pure or hybrid Saiyan enemy, you transform him and then go for the big damage, start stacking attack, built-in crits. Janemba kind of has that as well. So, you know, the guard's fantastic, the support's good. I mean, they could bump the support up, give him like, you know, maybe he could offer key +3, maybe a bit more attack and defense. Other than that, his kit's actually pretty solid the way it is. I said all he mainly needs is updated numbers, naturally, more key. The damage reduction's fine. If you want to give him more, like 40%, I'm here for it. And then I don't know, maybe on super attack, instead of raising defense by 30% for one turn, maybe to really hit home and really just kind of go with that more defensive version of Janemba. Maybe, maybe, you know, you decide to greatly raise defense. You know, he raises defense by 50% instead. I feel like that'll be pretty good. And then, I don't know, maybe you could give him something else. Maybe every time he's hit, he can build up like extra damage reduction instead of giving him more. So he keeps the 30%, but then every time he gets hit, he gets like, you know, an extra percentage, and then he gets a big total in bonus. A bonus total, should I say? I'm not sure. As I said, his kit pre-transformation is actually already pretty good. Like, it's already pretty good. So I can't really knock it too much. It's just key and updated numbers are the major issue. But now that we've transformed him, he is now going to perfectly link with all the other Janemba units. And here's where things currently, if he was to get an EZA soon, are a little bit sticky with him. Don't get me wrong, LR Janemba is pretty good, right? He's pretty good. He's aged a little bit, but still defensively, he can be very solid. Does, of course, work really well, 200%, under the 200% need of LR Final Form Caller. But I said, at this point, you don't really have much reason to transform him. There's not much reason. Like, you lose out on too much defensively, especially with the difficult content we have, for you to transform him. It's just not worth it. So there definitely does need to be some changes, maybe in terms of content, maybe where damage is a bit more important, or in terms of this man's kit, where it needs to be valuable for him to transform. So, you know, while we do have all links active at the start of turn, we do have a 446k attack stat, 135k defense. If we lose, I think, Nightmare, we do go down to a 339k attack. No, that's the wrong one. 410k attack stat, 135k defense. What do we lose from Nightmare? We lose attack plus 15%. Now, this is more of a realistic rotation if you were to actually going to transform Teq Janemba. This is a realistic rotation for you to run. Him next to the LR. So for now, we're not going to have him fully linked up. I mean, he's only missing one link, which is attack plus 15%. So for the time being, we're going to see what he does on a more realistic rotation. Then we'll have him like linked up perfectly. Again, it's only one link, so it's not like we're missing a lot. But just for, you know, a little bit of realism, we'll see what he's saying here. So he's putting out a 4.2 million attack stat, which is actually quite solid. That's actually not bad. I mean, when did he come out? 2020? No, 2021. 4.2 is not bad. It's actually quite okay. But again, you just don't really have much reason to be transforming him because you just lose out on way too much. Way too much. So in terms of him transforming, he does now raise attack and defense by 30% on super, which, I mean, to help that immediately, because it is a bit more of an attacking version of the kit, I mean, you could maybe give him a 50% raise on attack and only 30 on defense, or maybe you could give him 50 on both. That would work out pretty well. Gets attack and defense plus 180. Again, naturally with units, you know, they're going to have updated numbers, so maybe that ends up being 200%. He also randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to either rainbow key spheres or type key spheres, which of course would be Teq key spheres. He also then gets an additional attack plus 40% with 3 or more key spheres obtained, which we did there, which, considering he's an orb changer, really isn't difficult to do. It is funny how, you know, Janemba pre-transformation, you know, it's not too difficult to get his damage reduction, but getting key for him to actually super attack is an absolute mission. Once you do that, he orb changes. So, you know, it's one of those. So yeah, he does get attack plus 40% with 3 or more key spheres obtained. Again, maybe you could do a bit more with that. You know, he does have a kind of picking up like key sphere gimmick. So maybe with like 3 or more key spheres, he gets 40% attack. Maybe with 4 or 5 or more key spheres, he then gets 50, 60, and then maybe some defense with it, or just more attack on top of the 40%. And then maybe with like 6, 7, or maybe 8 key spheres, he gets another big amount of attack, or maybe he gets a bunch of defense, or both. You know, just kind of tie in and work with that, you know, kind of key hungry gimmick or orb hungry gimmick that he seems to have. Like, make it worth the transformation where he's putting out some very big numbers. Don't forget the defense as well. That's why I said maybe with 3 or more key spheres he gets 40, with like 5 or 6 maybe he gets 50, 60% attack, and then maybe if you get the big 7 or 8 key spheres, because remember he is an orb changer as well, maybe he does get attack and defense plus like 100%. And then that kind of gives it, you know, it might not be completely evened out, but it does give him some more value to transforming. You know, maybe you're doing a red zone stage, you know, you get to, for an example, you get to Broly, right? And you're like, oh, okay, you know, Broly's almost dead. If I transform Teq Janemba now, I can get a little bit more damage out of him and I can win the event, or like whatever the new event is at that point, you know, make it worth it. But we are getting support from Cooler right now, so we are on a 483k attack stat pre-super, 266k defense. The defense naturally will have to go up. So again, that 50% attack and defense raise on super might be pretty good. Even a standard, and I say this a lot recently, but Dokkan does do it quite a lot. Maybe on super, he does get like attack and defense plus 40%, attack and defense plus 50% on super, just to make his defense kind of on par. Yes, he does have dodge as well, but kind of like 500k defense, 600k defense, the kind of bare minimum with dodge would be enough for Janemba, especially considering how good Teq Janemba is defensively pre-transformation. So I think maybe something on super as well, as I said 40%, 50% on super, just to give his defense a bit more of a pick-me-up. But with the support, just under 5 mil. Again, that's pretty solid. I can't lie, that's not bad. Like, just with a standard EZA of updated numbers, Janemba's probably going to be in the realms of 7 mil. I can't knock that. That's actually pretty good. It's just, again, you just don't have much reason to transform him because of how good he is defensively pre-transformation. But that was actually pretty good. Like, just under 5 mil with the Cooler support. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I didn't expect it to be that high. I'm not sure why. Yeah, maybe something on super. I said maybe give him some bonus attack percentages, maybe defense percentages with all the key spheres obtained. Make him put out some big numbers, make his defense like solid. And then of course he has the 50% chance of dodging with literally just a singular rainbow key sphere. So again, kind of going with the key spheres. Maybe with one rainbow key sphere he has a 50% chance of dodge. Maybe with 2, 3 or more rainbow key spheres, maybe he gets extra percentage to dodge per rainbow key sphere obtained. So, you know, he can go from 50 to maybe 70, and then, you know, if you get enough rainbow key spheres, you know, he can almost dodge guaranteed with like kind of the bare minimum defense, or maybe just under that if you get enough rainbow key spheres. Or you can have a bit more of a guarantee. Instead of doing that, you can kind of keep, you know, with one singular rainbow key sphere obtained, instead of a 50% chance of dodge, maybe he gets a 70% chance of dodge. Maybe instead of having everything tied to him picking up key spheres, like everything, maybe just keep the extra attack, you know, with all the added bonuses that I said, and then instead of 50, maybe he gets a 70% chance to dodge with a singular rainbow key sphere obtained. I think that would work out a little bit better, just because if you do that, again, as I said, it's got to be worth transforming him, you know, whereas I said right now it just isn't. So, you know, at least this way he can do big amounts of damage, which this form of Janemba is a bit more focused on. He's then got a 70% chance to dodge, which is huge. All links active, by the way, 4 mil, which is okay. But, you know, you have a 70% chance to dodge, which we've seen how good that is with units such as like EZA, Gogeta Blue, you know, some other units, but we've seen how good it can be in red zone now that you have more stages where you can dodge, but it can do a big amount of damage. Have him with like decent-ish, solid-ish defense, so, you know, it's kind of on par with everyone else. And I think even with that change, I think it just gives more value to actually transforming him. Like, yes, you still miss out on guard and damage reduction, and that's a huge miss. But at least this way, if you want to go for the bit more of attacking option, it's worth it. Like, for example, with EZA transforming Cooler, which is the main one I compare him to, they both have their uses. But typically, you kind of keep Cooler untransformed anyway because you want to keep the support and keep him stacking. And you have a lot of damage dealers surrounding him anyway. And the same can be said for Janemba because he doesn't have a lot of categories. Crowded Body and Mind is still one of the worst categories in the game that really does need some help. I mean, at least if he gets an EZA, because he is naturally the 170 lead for it, it can get a bit of a buff, but it needs so much help. Movie Bosses, Transformation Boost, Accelerated Battle. Movie Boost, Transformation Boost is the only 200% lead he has. And, you know, you have one of the biggest damage dealers in the game in LR Final from Cooler. You know, it's a very strong team. So, you know, as I said, while you may not transform Cooler all too much, at least you kind of have value and a reason to transform him depending on the scenario you're in if you do want some extra damage, and then giving him a 70% chance to dodge makes it a bit more worthwhile, makes it a bit more worth it. But I do still think it would be a case where a lot of the time you'll probably keep him in Teq Janemba unless you really need the extra damage, or, you know, maybe you're going for the kill. But that's fine. But just give value and uses to both, you know, versions of him, both transformations pre and post, rather than making his transformation just not worth it whatsoever. But I think as long as he's putting out big damage from what I said maybe tie in all the extra attack he can get from loads of key spheres obtained, giving him a 70% chance to dodge and a bit extra defense. Again, while you may still stick to him pre-transformation, it kind of makes it worth it. It kind of makes it worth it. There's a bit more value there. But, you know, I think, you know, what they could do with him, I think he does have a good foundation for a kit, you know, especially pre-transformation. It's just this Super Janemba needs a little bit more love. So, you know, let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, guys. And peace.